2010 OneMedForum in San Francisco. I now have with me Dr. Harlan Waksal, Chairman of the Board of Senesco Technologies. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I think probably the best way to start this is just a brief overview of Senesco.
Senesco is a public company. We're traded in the American Stock Exchange. We're a low-cap company that is working in a couple different areas, both human healthcare, also in the bioag area. Historically, we've been in the bioag area, and we're now moving into the human healthcare science. Our work is really based, it's a platform type of technology that's based on a gene known as Factor 5A. And Factor 5A is a very important regulatory gene that is involved in the regulation of cell survival or cell death in all eukaryotic cells. So going all the way back from plants, all the way through humans. And our focus right now in the human aspect of science is in the area of cancer and inflammatory disease.
Okay. Before we talk about the historical agricultural applications of your technology, let's kind of delve a little bit deeper into how you are pushing forward into human health. So as far as the oncology program and inflammation, where are we, how far have we come as far as clinical testing?
So the excitement about our work from my point of view, and I'm relatively new to this company, I really got involved in the company a little bit over a year ago when it decided to go ahead and focus on the human healthcare component of things. And the reason I'm excited and involved in the company is because of this gene. The gene that we're working on, Factor 5A, is a gene that has two different forms. And that's how it regulates cells. It has a form which is a lysine form. That form goes ahead and induces apoptosis or cell death. And the other component of it is a hypocene. It's a very unusual amino acid. In fact, there's only one protein in the body that undergoes hypocenation, and that is this gene Factor 5A. And when it's hypocenated, it gives it a survival form of this gene. So what we're doing is we are manipulating cells, specifically cancer cells in our first product candidate, to go ahead and have an increase in the form of Factor 5A using a plasmid DNA to go ahead and increase the levels of the lysine form, and we're using an siRNA, a single inhibitory RNA, to downregulate the hypocenated form of it. And we're wrapping this together in a nanoparticle to deliver it. Now the target that we're going after is multiple myeloma. It's an ideal target for our work. First of all, it's a liquid tumor. Second of all, it's a major unmet medical need, and many different players are in this trying to come up with various ways to approach this. The reason this approach is so important is because it's able to go ahead and upregulate the apoptotic or cell death pathways, and at the same time, it's able to go ahead and inhibit the inflammatory component of multiple myeloma, which is a critical component in a lot of the side effects, by downregulating the cytokine component, which hypocenated form of Factor 5A goes ahead and induces. So the platform is great, and it's not just for multiple myeloma. There isn't a single eukaryotic cell that doesn't have this mechanism, this regulatory mechanism of balance between the lysine form and hypocenated form, and there isn't a cancer type that we've looked at in our mouse model systems that hasn't shown efficacy when we've gone ahead and used our drug approach, which is the plasmid siRNA cocktail with a nanoparticle delivery.
As well as other disease types where there's cells are going under stress, such as inflammation.
Absolutely. Inflammatory disease is a great aspect of this because, forget the plasmid DNA and upregulating the apoptotic component, simply downregulating the cytokine production gives great benefit in potential inflammatory diseases across the board, but also in diseases like diabetes, which has a cytokine component to it as well. Amyloidosis, where you're having production of materials because of inflammation that is deleterious. So it gives a full array of various areas for us to go into. Our focus is very specific. We're staying with cancer for the time being, and specifically multiple myeloma to show the potential of our approach.
Excellent. How about we touch really briefly on the agricultural aspects of your technology and some of the partnerships that you've forged in the past years?
So we are a company historically that was the bioag area. And what I love thinking about in science is serendipity of science. The reason all this work came about was because of work being done in plants where they were looking at survival mechanisms of plants and discovered that this gene was not only relevant but critical in the ability of plants to survive deleterious conditions. We've gone ahead and applied it across the board as a survival component, not as an apoptotic component, and that's where the name Senesco from senescence comes about, where we're keeping these cells from going into senescence. We have a who's who of individuals that we're involved with, from Monsanto to Scott to Rahan. Across the board, we've got 6 different partnerships in the area of agriculture. They're working on this and moving it forward. The company has refocused itself, not so much away from the bioag area, but embracing the bioag area as a division, allowing that to move forward in partners, and what we're doing is we're focusing on the human healthcare component and moving that forward ourselves.
Excellent. I guess kind of as just a brief recap, from an investor standpoint, what kind of milestones or major catalysts do you think that we can see in the rest of 2010?
So the company over the course of the last several years has done a number of financings, some of them very deleterious. The financings that it's done have been debt financing with these spiraling warrants that have been damaging to the equity of shareholders and damaging to the stock over the course of time. We are out there right now raising money, and we're going to revamp a lot of the debt that's taking place to stock. So that's number one. My key priority right now is raising of capital and making sure we revamp the debt. Number two, critical is moving it forward down the clinical pathway. We are ready to go ahead and move towards our toxicology studies. Subsequently, we're going to be filing an IND sometime later on in this year, probably towards the end of this year. And with that, we'll start clinical studies at Mayo Clinic either at the end of this year or beginning of 2011. So the real focus is on raising capital, cleaning up of debt, and moving our product forward in multiple myeloma.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Waksal.
My pleasure, thank you.
Again, that was Senesco Technologies. For more information, they trade under the symbol SNT. Also can be found at senesco.com, as well as information can be found at OneMedPlace.com.